Good morning. Thank you all for coming this morning. Today we will discuss a topic that is a silent killer to our communities, families, children, pets, and our planet. But first I would like to thank a few people. I want to thank members of the National Press Club for helping the National Green Energy Council hold this press conference on such short notice. I would like to thank members of our Product Endorsement Committee for bringing the issue we are about to speak about today to my attention. I would also like to thank members of my staff that work so diligently and exhaustively to make this press conference happen this morning. Thanks also go out to Co-Fire Industries, Cold Mix Manufacturing, Mr. Glenn Shapiro. I would also like to thank the American Biofuels Council, the Clean Fuels Development Coalition, and the Ethanol Promotion and Information Council. Finally, I would like to thank all the departments of the City of New York that made this issue cause them to rethink the way they maintain the streets of the great city of New York. By 2100, 93 years from now, a mere eye blink, America is expected to have twice the population it has today. That's 300 million new Americans. The world population, conservative estimates say 10 billion or more by 2100, or about 50% more humans than today. Many people will argue the numbers, how many, how soon, steady or declining growth, but that's missing the point. Here in America, imagine having to provide water, food, and energy and housing for 300 million more people. Better yet, don't imagine it's going to happen. Presently, there are 385 parts per million of CO2 in the outer atmosphere. NASA says that 450 parts per million is the irreversible mark. We could reach this mark by 2035. 25% of all species on Earth will be gone by 2050 if we reach 450 parts per million. Every day in the U.S., we pump another 20 million tons of global warming pollution into our atmosphere. That's like every person in America releasing 1,000 gallons of global warming pollution each day. Global climate change is our greatest human challenge. Earth has settled into a stable climate pattern for the last 12,000 years, but that is changing at an alarming rate. In the 1980s and 90s, the Arctic sea ice covered an area about the size of the continental United States. But due to global climate change, the ice has been declining at astonishing rates. And last summer, ice coverage was the lowest ever recorded, about half of what it used to be. Ice shelves in the Arctic are melting 30 years faster than any models ever predicted. One NASA scientist predicts that summer sea ice may be completely gone in as few as 5 years. There is no longer any scientific doubt about the Earth's average surface temperature, and it's increasing. And that changes in ocean temperature, ice and snow cover, and sea level are consistent with global climate change. Today, America finds itself at an energy and environment crossroads. The United States remains the world's undisputed technological leader, but recent events have demonstrated that we have yet to integrate 21st century technology into an energy plan that is focused on wise energy use, production, efficiency, conservation, and new clean tech product development. The key to a prosperous future for this nation is bringing sustainable prosperity through investments in green tech, or we are left dependent on foreign sources to meet our energy needs in the future. These greener technologies need to be pushed and continually supported by the federal government, cities, and communities all across America. Our challenge is clear. We must use technology to reduce demand for energy. In our world of modern conveniences, it is easy to forget one immutable truth. We live within nature's boundaries. The natural world is not just a pretty thing that we admire on vacation, but natural resources are the assets on the planetary balance sheet. The movement that is rising to reverse the effects of global climate change and many other planet inequities will be the largest that our planet has ever seen. As a nation, we cannot continue on our current energy course. It is dangerous to our national and economic security, and it's ruinous to the climate that sustains us. Last year, Americans spent more greenbacks on oil than any other nation, about $517 billion, according to the Energy Information Administration. Today, oil accounts for 89% of the net U.S. energy imports. The United States alone consumes 20 million barrels of oil a day and is expected to reach 24 million barrels by 2020. Purchase of crude oil rose from $8.03 a barrel in December of 1998 to $30.30 a barrel in November of 2000. As of June 20th of 2008, oil closed at $132 per barrel. This week, the number is floating in the $70 range. It seems like a Ouija board is probably the most sophisticated thing we have to predict oil prices for the future. Growing U.S. dependence on foreign oil is the nation's Achilles heel. We need a more domestic way of satisfying our need for oil. The answer is biofuels. Ethanol from sugarcane reduces harmful GHG emissions by 80%, and using biodiesel in school buses reduces harmful emissions by as much as 76%. By 2007, the U.S. ethanol production industry consisted of about 115 plants operating in 19 states. The nearly 7 billion gallons annual capacity of these plants was a whopping 38% increase over the previous year. With a dozen more plants coming online in 2008 and 2009, U.S. capacity will increase to nearly 12 billion gallons. By the first quarter of 2009, the industry's annual production capacity is estimated to reach 11.6 billion gallons per year. 20 countries currently now supply petroleum for 200 companies, but 100 countries around the world are now growing sugarcane. In looking at the economic impact of the ethanol industry, economist John Urbanchuk from the research and analyst firm LECG found the production of nearly 6.5 billion gallons of ethanol means the United States needed to import 228.2 million fewer barrels of oil in 2007 to manufacture gasoline alone, the rough equivalent of 5% of the total U.S. crude oil imports. The value of the crude oil displaced by ethanol amounted to $16.5 billion in 2007, money which stayed in the American economy. Besides keeping our fuel dollars in the United States, the biofuels industry supports nearly 240,000 U.S. jobs, directly and indirectly. And even more important, perhaps, biofuels return more money, more than $1 billion to the federal treasury than the industry receives in tax credits. Due to the new engine's ability to harness the much greater octane of ethanol biofuels, we'll be able to replace gasoline on a one-to-one basis in the not-too-distant future. But you must understand that this is just the infancy phase of this industry. There is plenty of private venture capital money being poured into finding more efficient ways of extracting energy from biomass and delivering it to transport and power systems. Over time, the technology will also become more flexible, allowing more crops to be used as feedstock, not just the current choice of sugarcane, maize, and palm oil. New technologies will be able to extract energy from cellulose, allowing the use of pastures such as switchgrass, as well as the refuse of current food production. The world is full of underutilized land that can grow the biomass that the new technologies of the future will require. Third world countries will be able to shed themselves of the shackles of poverty and oppression through the cultivation of new biofuel crops. Even the presidential candidates understand the importance of ethanol to our national security. Senator Barack Obama in February of 2006 was quoted as saying, "All kinds of technology can reduce our reliance on oil, but if we want to do something that's fast and effective, ethanol is the way to go." Senator John McCain: "It has been the policy of every American president since Harry Truman that as long as our energy resources are dependent on that part of the world, i.e. the Middle East, we are going to be there in force."